Hey guys. Oh yes, okay. Hey guys, it's me, TC Talk. My name is Therese, and welcome to I guess another random live stream. So yeah, this has been a long time coming, especially with the movie Shang Chi, and yeah, it's just so strange to think about all those years ago when I saw it. Well, firstly being announced, and then the fact that they were going to shoot it right, you know, effectively in my backyard that there was so much buzz and there was so much excitement and I mean it was like every second, well, almost all of my friends actually applied for it, myself included, and for obvious reasons. So it did, and it was touch and go for a minute because with the situation in Sydney at the very least, there was a possibility that we weren't able to actually see in theaters, ironically, because this was a place where the film was actually made. But with that said, that turned out not to be the case. The movies ended up being in theaters, and I did actually get to see it. So, what are my thoughts? So yeah, it's interesting for me because I kind of went into this film going with very little to no expectations because this is a Marvel film, Marvel movie, and I enjoy Marvel movies a lot. But I usually don't really think about it much more than just a nice, fun way to spend a couple of hours without thinking about it too deeply or philosophically. I mean, there's some movies that you just enjoy that you're there to see stuff get blown up. Maybe this is Michael Bay, but you know what I'm saying. And I think I kind of went into this movie with that sort of thing in mind. And I think, yeah, especially watching Endgame, particularly with Wakanda, I kind of just told myself that the fight scenes, and if you know me at all, you'll know that I'm someone who loves my action fight sequences, especially those that are you know from Hong Kong, China, South Korea, Japan, yeah, Asian. With that said, when Marvel does its fight scenes, it does it very differently, or thanks to CGI. So I can't. So having watched Black Panther, I kind of just told myself the fight scenes were gonna go in this very similar. So as much as people will say that there was a lot of hype. There was a lot of hype, especially with a lot of the team being connected to the Jackie Chan stunt team in one way or another, definitely because of Brad Allen, Eddie Chang, Wang Zhangwei, who many will know him as a bully from the latest Karate Kid that took place in Beijing. So with all that, there was a lot of buzz for it to actually be very much Jackie Chan esque. So I would definitely get into the fight scenes in a minute, but I guess I'll just go into like the beginning. And before I go on that track a little bit, I did actually watch the movie Raging Fire, which is a film with Donnie Yen versus Nicholas Say, practically like a week before I saw this movie. So with I shall put that as an disclaimer, because that may have influence what you're about to listen to next. So yeah, with that said, I think I'll just firstly say congratulations to all that were involved in making of the movie, and I think a big congratulations to all my friends that actually made it, because I actually did get to see quite a few. And congrats, you're in a Marvel film. I hope you guys had a lot of fun doing whatever it is you're doing, whether not being an extra or actually doing some really cool stunt stuff. Yeah. So I guess where do I start? I'll start at the beginning. So it's kind of so the movie starts off with the narration of a story for Tony Leung's character, who you'll later know as a Mandarin or Wenwu. And I guess off the bat, yeah, it's kind of very similar to the Mummy 3, isn't it? With the same narrator, although this time in Mandarin Chinese. Maybe that makes it better. Have people seen the Mummy 3? Is that the one that no one wants to talk about? I mean, I don't think it's that bad because Jet Li versus Michelle Yeoh. You can't go that wrong, can you? So I'm diverging. So yeah, we start with the narration. So we start off knowing about the 10 rings and why he defects. He stops fighting, and it's because he falls in love and decides to focus on his family instead, which is nice. And then, as you can imagine, stuff happens, and then he goes back into it. So it then shifts on to meeting Shang Chi, or as he will now call himself, Sean. Go figure. So he's now, you don't know just yet why he's, no longer part of the clan, Ten Rings clan. You do find out in sort of flashbacks, but sort of not, which is something that I will point out. But it's all in uh not composition, exposition. So that's, yeah. So he tells that later on, and you see him, and the first thing see him is, well, for one, waking up, and another one training. I will point out. I will say this. What you see of his montage of his training is him doing a couple of push-ups. If you want to see a much more comprehensive montage of someone working out, I highly recommend watching Ninja Assassin, um, Wheels on Meals, maybe any Jackie Chan movie. Point out there if you want to see someone, but whatever. And yeah, and then the shots change, and then you see him go to work, and you see someone driving the car, and for a second, you think it's Sean, and you think he's got this really cool job, and then the movie actually practically, not literally, but effectively does, that record scratch pull, and then you realize he's just a valet driver. That actually was actually kind of funny. With that said, if you wanted that joke, if guys writers, if you wanted that gag to actually land, I would have recommended not putting revealing that he was a valet driver right in the very first teaser trailer. So the joke is that his father is this leader of this freaking Ten Rings clan, and Sean is now this not so prestigious valet driver. Although he does have a really cool friend in the form of Katie, played by Aquafina. So I think if I was gonna take away any one of my favorite things that I did enjoy about this movie, it's the fact that they did have a very good dynamic, and I guess I shall put another disclaimer on again, and I will be using spoilers, obviously. So if you haven't actually seen the movie yet, I'd highly recommend you actually watch the movie first, even if you have to watch it on Disney Plus if it's released yet. Just watch that first before you listen into whatever you're gonna listen here on my ramblings. Okay, so spoilers. Okay, so without revealing too much, they have a really good dynamic and relationship without the writers regulating, like building up and suggesting that it becomes romantic later on. For now, I mean, in interviews, obviously, Simon has kind of like opened that door to the possibility that they may become romantic. At the very least, for now, it doesn't, and they just stay. They are very, very good friends, and it looks as though they've been friends for almost a decade. So what has, Sean Shang-Chi been doing all this time, and why is he just a valet driver? Well, he gets attacked. He gets attacked by, I guess, a clan who after his jade bracelet, which he owns half, and the other half is to Shang. I'm just gonna call him Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi's sister. Um, I think her name's Lin Lin. Yeah, well, Shang-Chi's sister. So they each have half the jade necklace. Why? It gives them power. You find out later on, but they get attacked, and then obviously you realize that there's more to his story than meets the eye, and that pretty much sets him off to Macau to for him to reunite with his sister, and then they get attacked again, and then they meet their father. So, and then that sets off the rest of the tale of them going to surprisingly not Kunlun, which you may be more familiar with in the comics. So they end up with this in another city instead, called Taolu. Okay, so that's what the story is. I guess the fight in the bus was kind of my favorite of the whole whole movie, and I can definitely see why. You can see the utilization of the jackets, external environments, and all that stuff. For me, I just that was my favorite part, and it also made me Katie or do some training. So that was that was cool. We get to see some of that, and then when we're attacked because he still believes that he can bring his wife back, or his wife is still trapped. Obviously, they did not think that plot through, and they were not able to convince him that he actually saw her die. Go figure. So they try, they do their best, and as you can imagine, they don't quite succeed. So Shang-Chi gets his he tries his best, and then he gets his ass whooped, and then he manages to break down the wall, and then you what is released is, I guess, a dwell in the darkness, and thus begins the kaiju fight. So it becomes a very big CGI kaiju fight after that. So if you're a fan of all these Marvel CGI big fight scenes, which are like just blasts and all that stuff, you probably enjoy this. Me, not as much, but it is what it is. It's a Marvel movie, so you get to see that. You get to see him use his rings, and unsurprisingly, you know, well, for one, when he sacrifices his life to save his son, and Shang-Chi takes up his position as the bearer of the 10 rings, and he beats up the big kaiju dweller in darkness, whatever that thing is. And yeah, so they save the day. And I know I'm paraphrasing this movie by quite a bit, but maybe I don't need to retell what the movie is about, because I'm kind of hoping that whoever's watching right now has actually seen the movie. So yeah, so I guess it was an interesting movie, to be sure, and I guess it helped that I didn't. To be quite honest, I didn't actually overhype myself as to what to expect, because I get to okay, it may attempt to have martial arts. It may attempt you know, to have a strong presence of in the Asian Chinese culture. But it's a Marvel movie, so they want to have those big CGI fights. So that is what they will be focusing most of their budget on, especially if they had to cut a lot of the budget on due to COVID. So yeah, interesting enough. So there was a lot of overhype with also Death Dealer, who is very famously played by Andy Lee from Martial Club. So Martial Club are a very cool bunch of guys who do like their own short films. They do like tricking, they do martial arts as well. I guess I was kind of expecting his role to be a little bit bigger than what it was, and oh yes, and also I was expecting a bigger defeat, to be honest, because I thought that at the very least Shang-Chi, they were hyping Death Dealer up to be like the kind of mini boss before the big kaiju dweller big boss. So for one thing, Death Dealer doesn't get defeated by Shang-Chi. He gets defeated by these what would you call it? They're like, man, they're like these little mooks. They're like these little thing that suck your soul out because they want to transfer it to the dwell in darkness. That is how Death Dealer gets defeated. I was like, oh, is that how we're going? Okay. Oh, we've got some. Hey guys, all right. So we've got some. Yes, the Shang-Chi Wenwu fight was much better than the Great Protector versus Dweller in Darkness battle. Yes, I agree. Yes, they actually. I mean, I'm recalling the fight scenes in my head, and at the very least, when you see Shang-Chi and when we fight, there was some sweet exchange, especially with the hand-to-hand stuff. I think if Simu is going to continue his training and everything, particularly if Shang-Chi too is going to go ahead, he should focus on that, because I think he's very good at punching trains and all that stuff. When it comes to kicking, he probably my guess is he was much more reliant on his stunt double Wang Zhongwei to do that. So great job on that. So yeah, Death Dealer. I guess he's a good trigger from what you saw, but again, I was kind of expecting. I was kind of hoping to be a little bit a little bit more. So yeah, what else is okay? So here's my yeah. So this movie was also very hyped on Asian or Asian American representation. So it did surprise me how yeah, I was kind of expecting a little bit more of that too, because the movie only kind of takes place in United States in the first 15-20 minutes before they kind of just chuff up the head off to Macau. That's my thoughts. But the very least, you get to see some cool exchange. You get to see him interact with Kay's family and some little nuances such as him taking his shoes off before he enters the house. So I guess that's what's cool. A part of me wants to say, for the guys that are writing this for that wrote this movie, please have more sources than South Asian traits if you want to do research on Asian Asian, because whatever Chinese, let's go Chinese culture. You know what I'm saying? But at the very least, they did have it, and actually having the characters speak Mandarin was an interesting touch. And I do think that is a risk. And when I say that, I remember seeing a movie I think I guess it was a few months ago, called Manhunt, and that was directed by John Woo. So please check out John Woo's stuff. He's done many cool things like Hard Boiled, Bullet to the Head, Face Off, which is one which Hollywood might be more familiar with because it stars Nicolas Cage and John Travolta. So why I bring him up is because his most recent directorial movie had characters that not only spoke Japanese but Chinese and English as well. My point is that when you ask an actor to speak a language that is not their own and something that they will have to learn, it is, I guess, for me, I do find it a risk. So if you're going to um I guess my thoughts are, if any director is going to do that, they should keep it in mind that they may have to be sacrificing the actor's performance as a result, because they are so focused on trying to get the language correct, especially when it comes to Chinese, because the Chinese language is tonal. So that's just something that popped in my head. To On that note, they actually didn't do that bad of a job with their pronunciations, because I could actually understand what they were saying. Although I do think that the way that the vocabulary, I guess, or grammar, I guess that's the way to describe it, is not the same. Like if you watch actually native Chinese or Hong Kong movie or even the Chinese drama, you see that sometimes that they say things some, I guess, a little bit more differently. That's just how I read it. You might think different. You know you may not agree with me on this, and I guess it just emphasizes the fact that Shang-Chi is, for all intents and purposes, an ABC, an American-born Chinese, that they were trying to just go for that, and you may be a little bit more forgiving as to how his Chinese is, and I suppose I should be too, because my experience of the Chinese language is very minimal at best. So there's that, and yeah, don't forget, do comment, guys, on your thoughts on the movie as a whole. I guess my general thoughts is, it I think this was a movie that had a lot of ambition and wanted to try a lot of different things, and they were limited for one way and another. Maybe it was like, probably budget cuts and student interference, or people just things just not coming to fruition the way they want. For the things that I mean, I guess my favorite part of the movie was interaction between Sean and Katie, for what little that there was. Um, I think the other thing that popped to me in my mind is a lot of the pivotal moments for Shang-Chi's character. Unfortunately, we did not get to actually see. And the biggest note for me was, it was a point where, you know, Shang-Chi is retelling his tale to Katie, and he's telling him why he left, the 10 rings. And the reason why he does that is because, after his mother died, his dad takes over and kind of just goes, all right, I'm going to go all assassin, and I'm taking my son with me. So he kind of trains his son to be an assassin, then orders his son to to kill the guy that murdered his mother. So this is all told in exposition, and you're left with the impression that the trauma of him making his first kill of the guy who killed his mom was so much that he just kind of defected. Okay, I if I was a director, I would have actually shown that shot because that would have been a pretty emotive moment. But we never really got to see it. We just got to see just dialogue. So you know, different strokes, I guess. I guess on a note before I forget it, the way that they tried to implement the themes of family was very very nice, interesting, and very very nice. So they do a lot of flashbacks with more about the mother and when of happier times and stuff like that. Personally, I guess if I was going to recommend this movie, I'd say, okay, watch this movie. And if you want a movie that focuses on the themes of family with, an Asian flavor, do check out Kubo and the Two Strings. That is a stop motion movie by Leica. And if you haven't seen it yet, I do recommend it because the themes of family and forbidden love and all that stuff that is very much present in that movie as well. Although I guess I could say that Shang Chi didn't do half a better job of trying to do that as well. So yeah. So the fight scenes were enjoyable. Although if you want the old school Hong Kong style fight scenes, I would say you know what there is a movie called Raging Fire. You should watch that without this. If you're not a fan like I am of the CGI stuff, I'll recommend you watch that stuff instead. So well, I mean, despite all my thoughts, I did actually have a fun time. Let me know what you guys think. I guess I will leave it at that, unless another thought comes up to my head. So, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see what's in the sequel. Obviously, I guess if you stayed back and if you are a Marvel fan, you probably did. Um, there's gonna be more because the Clan of Ten Rings is still there. It's just now headed by his daughter. You probably could have seen that one coming, but it is a nice reveal, and you get to see some assassins training, and so there's some more enemies to actually defeat. So yeah, so we'll see where that goes. I mean, I am glad that this movie was shot in Sydney because it did give big buzz for this place as a place for filmmaking, and it was an opportunity for my friends to actually star and to be extras and to do some really cool stunts as well. So I am glad that it happened. I enjoyed the film, loved the action sequences. Well, yeah, I mean, that was something that a lot of people did like too, so I'm not surprised. So yeah, definitely the the bus scene was rememberable, one of my favorites. Although, yeah, the Death Dealer one tricking scene, Death Dealer sequence for what it was kind of cool. And Shang Chi versus one week before it becomes like just Dragon Ball Z Kamehameha blasts. You know what I'm talking about. So if you like that, then you can watch Dragon Ball Z too. I guess if you want to see live action, this is not as bad second or first. It's not too bad either. So yeah. I mean, I guess as far as acting is concerned, Tony Leung's performance is probably my favorite. Um, yeah, just because I think out of all the characters, his is the one that had the chance to have the most multi-dimension. The other ones you didn't really get the chance to see, but go figure. Oh, on that note, I mean it. Yeah, Katie. I was talking to my friends whether or not the build up to her actually learning archery was a bit undercut, possibly. Although if it's a Marvel movie, then yeah, you kind of can tell that the pacing is going to be quick no matter what. So, so yeah, I mean, it wasn't so jarring. Um, with that said, I do think that I could have done without the we're not allowing girls to play we're not allowing girls to train stuff. I could have done without that because we already did that in Mulan. I'm just saying. It's like almost every other movie that Western movie makes about Chinese Asian woman in like an action movie is like they had to for some reason add that plot point in, and I'm like, can you catch up, please? We already have like female-led action movies in Asia already. It's fine, but it was small enough they didn't irk me too much, and it was cool to see Mengo, the actress. Well, you see her with I guess it was a chain whip It probably wasn't a chain, but that's the weapon that comes to mind when when I see her with her weapon. So that maybe it's the um ninja. It's not Shogun. It's something else. Let me know, guys, in the comments if you know what that weapon is called. But it was good to see that, her training and all that stuff. I wouldn't mind seeing more of it if they had the chance. Maybe in the sequel, I might see more of it. So, so yeah, I guess I will leave it at that. So it's worth a watch. I guess for me, I would say this: watch this movie and then go back and watch Dragon Tiger Gate, Project A, Wheels and Meals, Thunderbolt, um, Three Dragons, any Jackie Chan 80s from the 80s movie, watch, Raging Fire, and just yeah, if it's a gateway to Asian action movies, and I'm more for that. Um, we'll see what happens in the sequel, I guess. So let me know what your thoughts are. If I have another ramblings, I might leave them on the comments again. Um, I guess aside from recommending other things, just for a range, check out if you can the concept art again, because I think there was a lot of potential that I think that was unfortunately missed for whatever reason, in terms of it really showcasing the Chinese, ancient Chinese culture, architecture, costumes, and all that stuff. You do get to see it at the very beginning because that's this when the setting takes place. Um, and then I guess you can check out Kung Fu Panda because you can see the art designs that are very very similar as well. So yeah, I guess will I be if the when they release this on Blu-ray, if they do um release this with the audio commentaries, I will definitely be very curious to probably make a purchase and listen in on what they say about the making of this movie, because I'm actually be interested to see the thought processes this is as to for Waffle One how they told the story, and the directorial choices as to other lands as well. On a random note, what were you guys' thoughts on the mythical creatures that they decided to showcase in this movie? You think they did a great job? Were they cute? I thought they were cute, but I I don't know if I would consider. I mean, they didn't resonate with me as being very Asiatic or Chinese. I mean, that may have not been their intention. That was just my thought. So I guess for me, it's like I can only. I mean, what this movie could have been had not COVID and all these restrictions gone in the way is a question that will probably linger in my head for a while. If only because maybe they would have had more time to focus on stunts. They may have had more stunt people. They might have had more crew. And I do know that my friends were in scenes that were cut. So I guess on that note, I do hope that if they do get the chance, they will add them back in on an extended edition, because that might actually help with the movie. Because I think I do know how it is important to be very precise and very concise with your story and not have things that are unnecessary. But I think having additional scenes will have added to building the whole world, if that was with their intention. If you're not building the character by flashback, at the very least build the land of Talu as a mythical nice place, which is supposed to be like this mythical Asia. Because that was that my guess is that's what they wanted. So I would guess I would just leave it at that. Let me know what your thoughts are. The comment box is always open. This movie made enough for a sequel at the very least. I think it was successful despite you know potential the controversy there. So yeah. On a note, great job, guys who were all involved in the movie Shang Chi. Hopefully, this is a start of many more Asian action coming from the West and the Western mainstream. We shall see. And on that, I'm going to leave it at that. Join me for next time for another review or for some ramblings. I see you then.